Sometimes the people we love and trust the most can let us down in ways we never imagined. And I'm in that situation right now. I thought our marriage was perfect, but now everything is falling apart. My wife came out of the garage and into the kitchen that day, not knowing that everything was about to change. And I sat there, waiting in anger, because the truth about what was about to turn my life upside down had left me speechless. The big question is, what do I do after this betrayal? If you don't want your life to turn upside down like mine, subscribe to my channel and learn real lessons from the real stories we share every day. And please share your thoughts on the shocking truth of what I went through in the comments, and show your support by liking my videos. Now that you're subscribed, let's dive into my story. It all started one morning, just like any other day. I watched my wife, Veronica, get ready for work. I noticed that she had been rushing around, grumpy and a little anxious in the mornings for the past few days. At first I didn't pay it much mind. Maybe she was having trouble at work or something, but there was an unspeakable unease inside me. As time passed, I noticed changes in Veronica's behavior. She spent more time on her phone, quickly reading messages and hiding them, and when she saw me, her expression would change, growing tenser. One day, when I was home alone, I noticed Veronica leaving her phone on the kitchen table. An impulse rose up inside me, as if the truth in the phone was calling to me. My inner voice whispered that the answer was there. But I didn't act immediately. I wanted to believe my wife, and my love for her overrode my doubts at that moment. As the days passed, the unease began to grow. She always had her phone with her, and sometimes told me she had to work late. Everything seemed plausible, but the voice inside me grew louder and louder. She started mentioning a man named Greg, who was just a colleague at first, and it seemed to be just a work relationship. But as Veronica talked more and more about Greg, I began to feel uneasy about this man entering our lives. I still wanted to believe in myself, in my wife, but once doubt took hold, there was no stopping it. Eventually, one day, Veronica went out to what she called a business dinner, and once again she forgot her phone at home. At that moment, I knew everything would come to light. Trembling, I picked up the phone and opened her messages to find a conversation between her and Greg. My heart felt like it was going to jump out of my chest. The messages showed that there was more to the relationship than just a working relationship. The words on the screen confirmed her infidelity. Greg's messages to her, the times they met, the intimate moments they shared, it was all there. I was shocked, but at the same time I felt a strange sense of relief. The uncertainty and doubt that had been plaguing me for months had now been confirmed, but that relief was soon replaced by deep anger. Veronica had chosen to share her life with me, but now she was living with another man. At that moment, I made a decision. I would not confront her with this problem immediately, but I would wait until the truth came out. I waited for the right moment to force her to face her infidelity. For several days, I carried this secret every night, because as she lay next to me, I knew she had betrayed me. This feeling grew inside me, but I was determined to remain calm. It would be easy to accuse her and demand an answer, but I wanted her to see the gravity of her betrayal. I observed every move she made, working late into the night, hidden messages on her phone. It was like putting together the pieces of a jigsaw puzzle, my suspicions turning into certainty. But I decided to wait for everything to unfold perfectly, to wait for the moment of confrontation. I had to be fully prepared. Finally, the day came. Veronica was out again, at some so-called work meeting. I prepared for our confrontation, set up a small table, put a few things on it, and everything was ready. My wife was about to enter the arena of our lives. When she walked in, she knew that everything was about to change. She didn't know that I was fully prepared. Then it happened. I was sitting in the kitchen when she walked in. It was time for our confrontation. I moved a small table and put a few things on it. The stage was set. This was no game, but I was about to put on a show. When she walked in from the garage and saw me, she hesitated, trying to figure out if something was wrong. "Thomas, is there a problem?" she asked, her voice quavering a little. I shook my head slightly. "No, nothing's wrong. I just need you to do me a favor," I said. "What favor?" "What are you talking about?" she asked, growing more and more curious. I picked up a small object from the table and held it up in front of her. "This is a symbol of masculinity," I said. "Husbands who wear this," her eyes widen like the eyes of a snail on a stalk. She doesn't know what to say. You, what are you doing? Is this a joke?" "Thomas," her voice trembles, but she knows I'm serious. "This is no joke. I say calmly. I've done some research. Husbands like me wear this cage. You hang the key around your neck. And after you've had enough of your bull, if you want, you let me out. She looks at me, her eyes full of confusion. Bull, what are you talking about? The rising tone in her voice has now turned to anger, but I won't back down. I was there when you were with your boyfriend Greg, and I watched. If it's my turn, I'll clean up the mess. Time seems to have stopped, and there is a mixture of guilt and denial on her face. You're implying that you're having an affair with Greg, she shouted, but I remained calm and replied, I'm not implying anything. I know, but I'm not blaming you. I just want to understand my role. She took a step forward, snatched the cage from me and threw it into the laundry room. Stop it, she shouted. But I just looked at the cage in pain. If you don't like this cage, why didn't you say so earlier? We can try another model, I said sarcastically, and finally I confessed the truth to her. Do you want to know when it was the first time? I asked her and she stammered. Today, February p.m. Today is March, and it is p.m. If you want to know the exact time, I can tell you. She opened her mouth, unable to say a word. Why aren't you saying anything? She finally asked. What difference does it make? I answered coldly. Do you expect me to argue, Veronica, why you lied to me? Do I need to know why? No, I don't need to know why, because I already know why. You're a sociopath. These words seemed to break her last resistance, and tears began to stream down her face. But these words meant nothing to me. How can you say that? I'm your wife. I thought you loved me. This has nothing to do with love, I replied. I loved you once, but now I only feel pain. The moment I found out about your affair, the love was gone. Veronica stood there with a vacant expression on her face. Then what happens now? She whispered almost inaudibly. I looked at her and said, Let's get a divorce, Veronica. It's time. I could see in her face that she couldn't accept it. No, I don't want a divorce. My feelings for Gregos are over. I swear, I will devote the rest of my life to you. I will be the best wife you could ever have. Thomas. Her words stirred no emotion in me. It was too late. I said, It was over the moment I found out about your betrayal. At that moment, I felt Veronica embrace me for the last time. She pressed her body against me, her eyes full of fear and despair, but it was too late. The broken pieces of my heart could not be put back together. In the days that followed, I watched Veronica try to win me back in every way she could. She cooked, tried to get my attention at home, but the emptiness inside me made every one of her actions meaningless. I will never forget the look of horror on her face the day she opened the door and saw the tall man standing there. Veronica Brown, these documents are for you, the man said coldly as Veronica looked at the papers in her hands. I just stood there expressionless. The papers were the real consequences of her betrayal. When the divorce papers were handed to her, she fell to her knees and began to cry. She lay helplessly on the floor and cried, but nothing could be changed. The day I found out about her betrayal, she disappeared that night. I remember giving her one last chance, but that didn't undo her wrongdoing. Her tears couldn't undo the wrong she had done. We had already played out the last act of our life together, and there was nothing we could do except watch the divorce process unfold. Veronica had done everything she could, but her betrayal had irrevocably changed everything. On that day, when I sat in the kitchen showing her the manly cage, I already knew it was over.